Welcome to this session of Tech Talent Talk. I'm your host, Birgit. Oliver is away from now. And I work as a leadership coach and engineering leader, and I advise people about creating high-performing teams through culture. Our topic is how to navigate identity, culture, and feedback in engineering teams. I have Alisa Tikova as my guest. Welcome, Alisa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Alisa has over 12 years of experience in the information technology industry, with a strong background in technical project management, agile development, and process improvement. Alisa is passionate about creating and implementing innovative, user-friendly solutions that enhance user online experience. In November 2020, outside of work, she is an adventurous traveler and has visited 15 countries and counting. Alisa, the first question I would like to ask you, tell me a little bit about the topic, how to navigate identity, culture, and feedback in engineering teams, just generally.
Oh, it's a difficult topic, to be honest, but I really enjoy this part of leadership, I would say. So first of all, you need to start with observation, I would like to say, because there are usually two different types of people who provides and likes direct feedback, and those who likes or provides indirect one. So usually when you are new in a team, or when you already have a team but you never pay attention to that before, you should start by dividing, and you need to provide feedback a bit differently, depends on this group. So for direct people, you could be just strict to the point, and you actually provide guidance. You are saying, yes, this is wrong, and you should do it in this way. And people will take it like pretty positively because they used to direct feedback. However, if you go with direct feedback for indirect people, usually you will have issues because for them, it could be taken as something rude. So with indirect, I'm usually providing feedback as a coaching. So I start asking questions, why it happened, how could we do it better, what do you think about different approach? So yeah, it's complicated topic, but pretty interesting because you need to learn about your team. You will actually get through the feedback your team, and yeah, you can grow as well as a professional and as a human, I think.
That's actually an interesting topic. If I would like to ask a deeper question to this one. If I was a new manager and I have like no idea about different types of cultures, because like as a coach myself, I see that managers like newly come into the management role need to deal with people, and they are not even aware of the culture identity topic, and that with the culture comes also certain behavior and expectations, and how like I with my culture as a team member would like to be treated, that they have no awareness about it, and also therefore have no ability to adapt. How can they possibly like identify that there is a different communication needed? What signs should they look out for?
So first of all, I would recommend to read this Culture Map book, because everything you will find in this one is really great one, with like guidance, with like action items sometimes, and they actually have a map. So you can open it and see, okay, this culture is going here and this is there, and we can like navigate through these different cultures in this way. Yeah, and so you need to read this book. In this book, you will find guidance and tips how to actually navigate through different cultures and different nationalities. You will also find actual map, which will divide cultures in different categories. But it's not so easy how we would like to have, because sometimes people, and not sometimes, pretty usual people travel and people migrate. So let's say they could be from direct culture by birth, but then they migrate to indirect culture and it will be mixed. So what I can recommend, first read book. Then you need to start with observation. So you just need to pay attention to the details, how people communicate, how people provide feedback to you and to different colleagues. And then if it's so difficult to understand, just ask. Say like, I would like to provide feedback in this way. So just straight to the point, how it will be taken. Are you going to take it rude? In this case, okay, like, is it better to ask questions to do in this way? Or like, should I be like, not direct to the point, but like with the questions, maybe with some coach, and person will answer you that, no, you know, I will not understand it because for me it will be too much information and I won't get to what it is. So book, observation, and ask if you cannot get the right answer by your intuition, let's say so.
I believe it's also a very great tip for like non-cultural topics, but maybe also for mental health or like mental diversity in general.
Yes.
For example, what I have learned in my past experience is that sometimes you cannot bring in many topics at the same time, and sometimes you need to ask very specific questions. For example, how are you is a question that people would say, okay, I believe this person wants me to say I'm fine because they are taught to like do this, right? But
Yes.
then you don't get any information out of it. Your topic or what you just said also brings me to yourself. You said that you moved from software engineering into engineering management. What has inspired you to do so?
So, to be honest, I have always liked to lead people, and the process of leading people, you know, when you can motivate them, coach them, inspire, and help to find their path. So I also, it's like one point, and second point, I also really like to grow and build businesses. You know, when you take different puzzles, different pieces, and combine them in a one picture, and if it's successful one, it's even better. So, and I previously even ran my own company once, so it was pretty obvious, you know, decision to start like to choose this leadership path, you know, to go to management leadership, but not continue as a self-contributor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also the same for myself. Like I have seen that when I lead teams, I may be able to multiply whatever capabilities I have or whatever capabilities the members have. And so whatever like organizational setup I am applying, this is like kind of capable of scaling also. And I have seen this happening a couple of times, and it's always wonderful to see.
Yeah.
But also, let's talk about like you are originally from Ukraine, right?
Yes.
And then you moved to Poland, and now you are in the Netherlands.
Yes.
Tell me about your experience. What have you experienced during this journey?
Oh, I would say it's a good in general, yes. But all this journey also changed me, yes, because I moved to Poland just after university. So I can say that I spent mostly all my adult life in Poland. And it's actually, as I said before, yes, it affects me. So, and some like aspects from my nationality, or not nationality, but my identity changed when I relocated to Poland. So, and sometimes I think that I may be more Polish than Ukrainian now. For example, I started complaining a lot about weather, about everything. Yes, I wasn't so before, but yeah, unfortunately. And yeah, and now, for example, I moved to Netherlands and I start realizing that Netherlands people, they're also different from Poland, Polish one. So they're maybe more positive. They're not complaining. So they're more positive, they're more open, but they're also direct as well in their feedback. So it's a bit, you know, strange experience, because you can see someone who is really like smiling to you and saying positive things, but then direct to the point saying where you're wrong, and like, Oh, okay. But it's how they used to provide feedback. So it's not because they would like to be rude to you, but it's just like, okay, I'm open to you and really positive, but if you are doing something wrong, I will tell you just immediately, just to clear it, and we will proceed with smile further. So yeah.
So basically a respectful way of providing feedback, you say.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so let's also talk about your identity. So you have already given a glimpse about it. Tell us a little bit more how this move from like Ukraine, Poland, and then now to the Netherlands has affected your own identity.
Regarding Netherlands, it's too early to say because I only 3 months here. But I would say that maybe not this relocation changes my identity, but I used to work a lot with British people. And like, for example, my previous company, now I'm working in IO, but previously I spent 10 years working in outsourcing company where we had a lot of projects with UK, with United Kingdom. And it changed the way of writing, it changed the way of how I'm asking. And I'm usually so polite and like, could you please do and do me a favor and all this stuff. And when I now working in a German company, I realized that no, not everyone is using these constructions. And yeah, so I cannot say that like migration to Poland or Netherlands changed me. Like, we're not talking about complaints, yes, but in general, yes, it's because Polish people and Ukrainians, they're still pretty similar in their like vision, how we provide feedback, like regarding high context culture, because Ukrainian and Polish, we're from high context culture. It's actually, we have people from low context and high context, and high context is those who really will not tell you directly what to do. We'll really like people read between lines. So, and you just need to know person to understand what we are talking about. It's just because, for example, it's really hard to understand jokes if you are not, in a group of people. So yeah, that's why for me it was pretty easy and it didn't change me a lot. But however, working with British people changed my way of communications, providing feedback, and even I learned how to manipulate people, but in so polite way. So yeah, it's like you just need to be in this culture to understand how it works. Yes, I said pretty soon to say about Netherlands because I just moved.
Yeah. I also notice about the communication. I just recently joined a set of organizations in a more playful environment. And there are so many different nationalities in Polish people, also Ukrainians, but also US Americans, Spanish people, Turkish people. And it's so interesting to see how these people communicate, demand something, or try to give feedback. And I must also say, yes, indeed, Germans might also not be the nicest people. And for example, I've come to know that US Americans try to beat around the bush, if you know what it means. Like, so it's definitely not direct, and it's always with words chosen that if you would translate it into your own language, it means something completely different than what they actually are saying.
Yeah.
So I actually have a guy like this in one of my organizations, and I always need to ask him, okay, can you provide this information in easy language? Easy language works like this. I do this. This happens there. So that I have a clear message of what the strategy should be that the person wants to provide.
Yeah.
And also yeah, the Polish people I also didn't understand. There's something that is being shared with maybe a comment or maybe not, but you have to understand it, right? So, and then you ask yourself, what is the person trying to convey? Like,
Yeah,
how can we help the person? And you also need to ask, okay, what is it that you would like to say?
exactly. Yes.
And that's pretty
Unfortunately.
interesting, yeah. And I always say, like, to my people, please be careful with people who appear aggressive. Yeah, so really demanding and, you know, like, I don't know what they are going to do with you if you don't obey. And to just try to be as respectful as possible. Yeah, so if if you apply this for people who appear aggressive, they will hopefully gain trust in you and be less aggressive later.
Yeah, potentially, yes.
Yeah,
It
and that,
depends, but it's a great chance that it could be this way.
as a manager, it's really interesting to see these different cultures in like really one place, and the people are communicating from their countries. That means that they don't have an identity shift. They have their pure like own culture that they live and like use and so on. So unlike you right now, you are adapting, right?
Yes.
And so we're talking about also the identity shift. Like when people are moving to a different area, it can be in the same country, but it can also be a different country, that when you learn the new culture and you observe the new environment, that you're adapting, and therefore you're also changing your own behavior, your own culture, and therefore your own identity, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
this is what it means. Like I when I was in graphic design school back then, way too young, there was also a Russian person who moved to Germany when he was a child. And so I didn't notice that he struggled with his identity, but later on, like after our education, he really took a lot of time and energy in order to produce lots of art about this topic. What is his identity? Is he German or is he Russian? Is he something in between? Like no one knows. And then what I also noticed is that also as a society, we identify people as Russian, Ukrainian, US American, and whatnot. But actually, people who have moved have a mixed culture. So they have a totally different identity. And they don't really fit into the stereotypical identities that we learn, also not inside the culture map. There may be bits and pieces from that you can use from the culture map, but these are mixed cultures. So this is a totally different group, right? Have you noticed this too?
Yes, yes. And it could be a bit sad that, for example, when we are traveling to Ukraine, just to meet friends, etc., and we start realizing these differences, you know. And yeah, it was sad just to understand and that you are losing this your native identity when you still didn't fully get your new like you won't get it never. It's like it's truth. But it's like maybe negative, not negative, but sad aspect of this. But what is really positive, yes, you never started being like Polish fully, but you will get, and usually people get the most advantage aspects from both or like triples countries, and you will definitely understand. You will understand. So as you are getting more identities by these movements, you will understand all these cultures. So you know you are growing as a human or like you know like child of the road. Yes. So but we also discussed it. We had ways of working workshop when I joined IO, and you can imagine I joined a team where there were 5 different nationalities. So it was a team from Brazil, Venezuela, Turkey, Egypt, and Ukraine, myself, and Italy. So
Very
and I
explosive.
realized, yes. And I realized that like we don't really fully understand each other. So we decided to do ways of working workshop, and actually we built this map. So we start like saying like I ask all of my rappers to put them where their thinkings are, like direct, indirect feedback, high, low context. And there were a guy from Venezuela, and he was saying, but I live in 10 years in France. So I'm start thinking as a French person now. So, and this actually is this like mixes of identity because he is not traveling home a lot. So that's why he's more French now than Venezuelan, I think. So yeah. And it's a reality. And we have a world where people migrating mostly all the time. It's a really open world now. Yes, you can just get a visa and go whenever you want. So you will collect these identities and it will be growing. But I think it's for good. It's for good. It's like a bit sad, as I said before, that you can lose your native a bit, some aspects. But from another perspective, you will learn about this world more and more and more.
Mm-hmm. I also think that time-wise, people are like not only from like the area, like moving from one area to another area, you change, but also time-wise, where, for example, your own area is changing from and shifting from one culture to a different. And this, for example, has happened in East Germany, where Germany was divided once.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was also like a unit before, but then it was divided. This was already a culture shift.
Yes.
And now from the division to the unification, it is also still in process, the culture shift. But it has affected the Germans in that area a lot.
Yeah.
Especially, I would say especially the children, because I feel like when I observe this area that the older people still have deeply their East German culture. And so they teach this East German culture to their children. But then the children, as like the Germans migrate in the entire German area, the children are also more open to whatever is changing there and therefore adapting to this new environment. And now they have like kind of a mixed culture between East and West Germany without even moving, and that's also pretty interesting. Up to a point where also Germans, like these particular East Germans, ask themselves, who am I? Am I East German or am I just German? What identity do I have? Do I identify myself as particularly East German with this particular East German culture? And that's like, it's still a too small discussion in the political area, but it isn't. But it is a discussion that people are doing. And it's also quite interesting. You have done a culture map workshop,
Yes.
right? Can you tell us more about that? What can we learn in this workshop?
Oh, it was pretty interesting one. So we realized so many aspects. So, for example, we have a colleague from Egypt, as I said, and he was continuously saying like, "May I give a suggestion?" Like directly this sentence, and we are thinking like whole team we're thinking that it's about new ideas, brainstorming, or etc. But for him, this sentence was just to stop conversation. It was like, okay. Every time when we have a dialogue and he starts doing like saying, "May I give a suggestion?" Like now we realize, okay, he just needs to like pause. He wants to stop that. And it was so eye-opening, I would say, because like we mostly half a year, like for me it was half a year, but for Tim it was more, interpreting him in different way. We were thinking, okay, and we can like, he was like to stop, but we were continuing giving ideas. So the person really struggled during this time till we finished this workshop. But As we have also a lot of people from high context culture in my team, we created 2 rules. And we just put it like we created a set of rules, but 2, like I would say, more important, that we wrote, we put in Mara board, and like every time when we struggling to understand each other, we return and just read it again. So, and first rule, it's actually say what you mean and mean what you say. It's like, again, about high context culture that you said, yes, Polish should cannot fully understand. So it's like, no, please tell exactly what you had in mind, because not everyone can read between lines, yes, and it's not really easy. You need to be in this culture to understand this, like, you know, all these ways. It's really, if you want to learn how to deal with high context culture, you need to observe the behavior. You really need to analyze your relationship with the speaker, emotions. So you should be really a psychologist if you're not growing in this culture.
And
You really
I
need
must
to
say,
know.
even psychologists, they mostly only learn the local psychology, and
Of
this is
course.
very difficult. Yeah, go on.
So that's why we created this rule. And second one is tell them what you are going to tell them, and then tell them what you have told them, and make sure that they understand. It's actually because, like, at the beginning we have I told the information, and it's their responsibility to understand. Or it's like someone who's saying receiver, it was his responsibility to understand that I understood him. But not really. When we have a dialogue, it's responsibility of both, that we actually understood each other and we are going in the same direction. Because the biggest problem and issue for multicultural teams, it's actually that it's really hard to be aligned and be on the same page. And I realized it several times that, for example, even it's so like, it's funny but not funny when you're in a meeting agreed, and then I start observing that they start doing different things. Like, come on, we agreed to do that, but no, they're just doing different. And
So
like
what
at the
does it
beginning, you
mean?
just, huh?
What does the agreement mean, right? Like, because
Exactly.
for everyone, the agreement means something different.
Yes, that's why we like put this. First of all, please provide direct messages, and secondly, even after, please make sure that everyone understood you right, like that your message was taken, that you expected that was taken. So yeah, I think most beneficial.
Like in this multicultural organization that I just mentioned, I like to also very like in easy language say, just to understand, like I just repeat what I understood so that we can make sure that we are on the same page.
Yes.
And then I repeat in my own words. For sure, this also maybe, you know, there is a high chance that you see like some misunderstandings, but of course it's like never 100% thing. Like nothing that you can do is 100% security that you can like clarify what has been understood. But this one is a very effective one. When someone is basically telling you some information and you need to take actions or whatever, like, or the other person, but whatever information, yeah, you want to understand it and you want to make sure that you understand it, please repeat it in your own words and let the other person tell you that this is exactly the thing that they have said.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's a bit like in a kindergarten, but we just need these steps at the beginning. When we are building our collaboration, it's really mandatory. Then when you are already on the same page and like, you know, in the same boat, you even can have easier, you know, like, but at the beginning, you just need to learn how to collaborate with these people. Yeah.
And I must say, in addition to that, we have the opportunity to like even online speak with images, with audio, and additionally in writing. However, in some situations, I also have seen companies where they do asynchronous conversations only. They don't have videos and audio, they just have writing.
Yes.
So you have the cultural high context and low context and whatnot difficulty, and now you need to convey your message in writing. And so,
Exactly.
especially in this case, you need to be as clear as possible, get away from every slang that you have learned in your childhood, and just do easy English language that you have learned in the primary school.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. Like I cannot imagine to collaborate only in writing, like asynchronously way, because I think in this case, this feedback loop, it will be even longer. Because like when you see a person, you can talk about like on different languages, but at least you can pay attention to emotions. Yes, person agree, disagree. But if it's just a text, like, okay, we have emojis, but they won't help a lot. I
Exactly,
think.
exactly. Let's come to a topic when people are moving into new cultures. How can you help them? Perhaps, often they come into new cultures and they super fearful. You see this, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It might be imposter syndrome, right? How can you
Yeah.
help overcome this?
So I think if we are talking about imposter syndrome, steps how to overcome it will be the same no matter like is it like due to moving to new team, company, culture, because personally I'm using the same steps. So first one, you need to remember your achievements and don't minimize them. You already achieved them and you have your life due to those achievements. So you have your position, your salary, title, whatever, due to your achievements. It's not like the biggest problem with imposter syndrome that you have a feeling that you not deserve that. But no, you are deserve it. You need to allow you to take this. So that's why take time, write down all your achievements and take a look and maybe even efforts. How much efforts did you put to get this achievements? So it will convince you that it's not someone, I don't know, coming to you just from the air. Second thing, second thing that you need to remember your identity. You could be different in this team, company, or culture, but it doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. So
Mm.
you're okay. And you should remember that the most memorable piece of the cake is usually different from the others. So, and we have a feeling that, oh, we in a new team, we need to be the same as these people. No, you don't need to.
Mm.
And usually, there's actually this special exercise when, for example, company realizes this team is not really performing well or struggling with new initiatives or ambitions, then they start rotating people. They maybe take one to another team or just put another person to this team or hire someone new. Because every time when we have a new person in a group, we start this circle again. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know this how we combine structure in a team. Yes, storming, performing. So, and it means that new person usually brings something new, and it's you. So no imposter syndrome here. It's for sure. And yeah, last but not least, every time when you have this feeling in your mind that I'm not deserved, just give your time for reflection. Uh, just to get your successes, failures, it's okay. And just to memorize all your achievements that you have done for whole your life. I think reflection time and reflection time for moment for reflection, it's our pause because we are running so fast in our time. Yes, we are. I need to do this and this and this, and like we just achieve something, but we already put in another goal, and but our brain needs endorphin. We need to give something to feel happy, and this time for reflection actually can give us this hormone of happiness. So yes, I deserve. So yeah, I think it's good tips.
Exactly, exactly. And I find these tips super cool. Let me add you some more tips. What I find really interesting and also useful is a thing that we just did, right? If we are new in a new environment, and we see that people are talking about topics that you don't know, like some terms or jobs that you don't know. It's always good to ask and clarify. Okay, what does it mean? Often these are project names. Yeah, what is Project X called? Not called. What is it about? Yeah, can you tell me what it is about? And often you will see that the team is not even aligned with the name. So the Project X can be called Project X1. Yeah, I don't know. And also, what I also learned in a very specific situation is to emphasize your own culture.
Yes.
The company is defining a culture as well. For example, it can mean that one of the topics to emphasize is a culture, and culture means to emphasize a certain behavior within the staff. Yeah, so they want you to do and to behave in a certain way. Meaning, if the culture says that you need to bring in yourself a lot in conversations, but you come from Japan or like some other Asian country where the culture usually is to pause for a minute before speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you come into a Western culture where the space in between a sentence is like almost painful for a Western person.
Yeah.
And you need to tell the Western people that you have this culture and you have learned it this way. And then can we have like a certain, like, can we find a certain way how I can emphasize my culture and you can emphasize your culture, or like any kind of way, and how to like come together? Because what I have seen in some companies is that people with this culture of like pausing in between and therefore not being able to talk at all have
Yeah.
been treated unwell because they have been measured against the company culture, right? And so we need to, like, also as managers, we need to recognize that. And when I realized that this has happened in 2 of my team members, by the way, I just jumped into the team and said, like, oh my goodness, here's something happening that we need to discuss with our company culture. Yeah, this is something that we as managers, we need to be aware of.
And
And
pay attention. Yeah.
yeah, and my last point, I don't know. Again, I usually write down things, and this way I don't know what it means. I forgot. Yeah, let's come to the next question. So we have talked about imposter syndrome, and we want to give them some feedback, right? So maybe there is something that we need to adapt and adjust. Yeah, because it's kind of blocking the way we want to behave inside a company, and maybe it is like that an Asian person is like would love to adapt to the company culture, to learn a new culture. It's open for it. So how do we provide critical feedback in multicultural teams?
How? First of all, we don't need to afraid to provide it. We need to provide. It's like the most important, because I think without feedback in multicultural team, it's mostly impossible to survive. Like we have an issue of alignment. It's usual one, and without feedback, it's impossible. But it's impossible to improve it. But how? So I think again, we are starting from observation and trying to understand what type of feedback people would like to take. Yes. Or we can also, if it's like, sometimes you have 10 people in a team, yes, and you're a new manager and you have a task for this quarter, just increase performance, and like you don't have time for all this ways of work and workshop. So in this case, what I would do, I think, I will come to the team and say, I know that you are different. I know that we are collaborating in a different way, but for this specific team, we are doing in this way. So we start providing direct feedback because it's usually the easiest way when you provide direct feedback. And please not taking them to personal. It's just to make things easier and not because we want to, I don't know, hurt you. And so I would set up a rules how we are providing feedback. It's the first thing. Second thing, I will ask for feedback, how they're feeling according to these rules. Do they want to proceed? Do they want to change? Because what I realized when you are coming from the top and saying, now we are doing this one, it's not like you usually have, it's not taken so easy. But when you ask for a feedback, they provide it, and you work through it together, then it's like, okay, we build it together. And if we build it together, why we will be against this? So it will be taken easier. And asking for feedback, we are starting collaborating in this way, how we set up. And I'm as a manager, I will observe the situation and see, do I still have someone who is struggling in this way? And if yes, then I will talk like during one-on-ones. I will like provide examples and see, like, previous situation, I saw that you behave in this way, wasn't so uncomfortable for you, etc. For some cultures, for example, I know that even like they need, as you said, yes, they need a pause to start talking. They need a particular space. And knowing that, I like directly asking them. So sometimes for specific people, I give a space. Yeah, it's your time to speak, please. I even sometimes push and no, tell me any point, positive, negative, you need to tell that. So I am just pushing people to start thinking about things. Yeah, so rules, that rules will be taken by the team and accepted, and then working with individuals who are struggling to adapt to the system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like to use sticky notes in this case, especially if I have the people who are talking a lot and people who don't talk much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that the people who don't talk much are uncomfortable. Maybe they just have like a different connection to it, or like need to be asked differently, or they are just there and listening. But if you want to have that culture of like, as a member of the team, you need to bring yourself into the conversation, then sticky notes might be one of the things that you can do. And it doesn't mean, and this is also what I have experienced in one of the teams that changes really slowly. Yeah. It doesn't mean that it works the first time. It may mean that everyone needs to get used to like how we convey information and conversations. That it works in the 10th time. So keep doing it. Let them like get used to the new and see how you can adapt the new so that people, like everyone, the whale in the room and also the tiny mouse in the room, can always give their opinion and thoughts and so on and so forth. Maybe there will be a time when people will be feeling good and everyone is sharing information. There will also be a time when one of them doesn't share any information. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but keep it going until everyone feels comfortable enough to like totally share the thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, agree. Maybe I would like to add one thing, that sometimes when people struggle in talking, I usually give them a space to provide feedback afterwards. So, or it could be anonymous form or DM me. So, for example, I don't want to talk in a group, but I will write you a private message what I'm thinking about that. And for you as a manager, it's the most important to get feedback, and the way it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Also, when it comes to building trust, because sometimes people are just not comfortable of talking and speaking because it's a new environment or an environment they perceive as like uncomfortable. To just sit together and eat.
Yeah.
Sit together and eat, because this is our biology. If we are sitting together and eat together, then we are family together.
Yes. Yeah.
This makes us
That's why.
comfortable.
Yes, that's why actually we have a team day scenario, and I realized that after like for example, before we had a team days with my team first time, it was a bit this, how to say, we were a bit stressful when talking, like some nervous, etc. But after, like a family, as you said, we were eating several times together. We spent mostly a week together, and no, we would understand each other jokes, so like on the same page. Yes, you're right.
And for those who do asynchronous conversation only, I would say, like, keep talking in the channels. Keep talking. Keep talking. Yes, it will take a long time until another person also talks, but they will get comfortable with you talking in the channel.
Yeah.
It feels so weird to be the only one talking in the channel, but at some point there will be some people who type in, "I agree. Thanks for telling that."
Yeah. And it's already a great step.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, let's also talk about upward feedback. What advice can you give to those who are struggling with upward feedback? And we have discussed that we are providing upward feedback not only to our line manager, but sometimes we have several layers here.
Yeah. So I think you need to start with the small steps. First one, you need to tell your manager, CTO, whoever, that you have a feedback and you would like to provide it. And does this person open to hearing this feedback? We all know, yes, feedback is a gift. So we don't need to be afraid to sharing this gift. And when you said that, yeah, I have a feedback, I would like to provide it, and person say, no, I don't want it, it's their responsibility. It's not your responsibility that you haven't provided this feedback. But to be honest, I never met a situation when you're saying to line manager or like CTO, I have a feedback I would like to provide, and they say no. Like usually they're pretty open because we are thinking that it's pretty easy to be, director or head of VP or head of engineering or VP of engineering on CTO, but usually these people, they don't have mentors. Like we as a first, like, I don't know, when we're talking about as a developers, yes, we have our line managers and we have directors and we have someone else and we have like mentors who are guiding us what to do. But as high you are, you don't have people. You start losing people in this line who can provide you feedback and who can guide you what to do. And we are all human. We are not God. So we sometimes we just need advice. That's why when I even heard, I don't know, remember who, but it was a phrase from one CEO or CTO, and he said that for him, it's a great teachers are junior employees because they know like everything that should be done in this company. So first step, don't be afraid. Tell your manager that you have a feedback. Second, be constructive and provide feedback only about one point. So it's okay to set up even several calls, maybe in like every 2 weeks if you have a lot, but you should go to the point because usually when we're talking about managers or like CTOs, they're a bit busy with the context. And if you provide a lot of information, they won't understand for what it. But if you go to direct point, constructive, effective, and saying, yes, I have a feedback about the situation, provide your feedback, and then you need to ask, what do you think about that? Tell me, like, I have this feeling, now I would like to see your feeling and your vision. Because sometimes we can provide, like, as lower we are, we have lower and like not so wide vision of things that's happening in a company. We can even have tunnel vision, yes. But when you're a manager, you have this this vision of the situation. So sometimes for me here, it could be things that something like strange, not proper happening. But if you are looking on this from this direction, you will understand this is for a reason, because there are several dots that you don't see. And yeah, it was for a reason. So when you're asking for your manager feedback, after you provide it, you also give chance your manager to mentor you, to educate you about general company situation, and you together like doing as a team, like collaborate in this situation as a team, and usually provide feedback with idea of care and curiosity. So don't criticize, never. Line manager or your reports, whoever, you don't need to criticize. You usually provide feedback. I have a feeling that something going wrong or like not wrong, and I would like to understand why. So, and I think if you use these rules, first step, tell that you have feedback, then go to the point, ask about the vision, and keep in mind care and curiosity. I think your feedback will be beneficial for your line managers and appreciate. They will be taken with pleasure from them.
Absolutely. And I like that you have opened up so many topics, and I really like it. Let me ask you first, before I touch the other points in it. You said that there is like a big vision from the upper management. And then you say that there is like a person in the room that has just like a fraction of the vision. This is what you mean, right?
Yeah.
And so do you see these two, like the big vision and the part of the vision, as aligned as one thing?
What do you mean aligned as a one thing?
Like what I perceive is that the fraction of the vision is the personal vision, right? So I'm in this company because, right?
Yeah,
Cool.
so mostly all the time we have our personal vision. Yes, that's why we have a lot of alignment calls. And when, for example, when we build a strategy, yes, we are getting information from many parts of the company, because we just want to take several personal visions and create company vision. But there's also a situation when you are in a lower level. Yes, you have your personal vision, but you also don't see all dots that is like above you, because it's not your responsibility. So for example, I'm just engineer and manager, and I need +1 employee to this team. I just need, because we cannot perform. So I'm going to my line manager and saying, or like VP, I need +1 employee, because and we are struggling and I want it and la 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 la. And what do you think? And my VP saying, yeah, I see your issue, but we don't have a budget for this specific, or we have a budget, but we also have this vendor. We have another team where we have bus factor. That's why we are putting employee to this team, but not you team. And I, from my level, don't see all these aspects. That's why my line manager provides these aspects. And it's also making my vision wider. I start thinking, okay, now I'm thinking not only about my team, but general strategies, that to have employee, I need a budget. To have budget, I need a revenue. And also, it doesn't mean that I have a budget. It will directly go to my team, because we need to compare which team needs like higher, etc. So, it helps me to grow.
Yeah. And I also think that it doesn't matter in which level you are, that when you talk about the vision, the company vision, and what it means to you as a member, or what it means to you as a manager, how all of this can be aligned, right? I think like especially the top people in an organization should make sure that everyone naturally flows with the vision, right?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you an example. An example would be for that one individual contributor might learn about AI, And so the company provides like features with AI tools. And so this might be one thing that fits into one vision. What I've seen was not working was that one person wants to train AI models. And that's, I know that it might be a little bit complex now. And the company also wanted to provide AI tools, but it didn't necessarily include only AI model training. And so there was a discrepancy between the two visions. And so you need to make sure that the two visions from the company and those from the individual contributor aligns or fits in, right? And during the conversation, I also realized that communication is the key, and also over communication is the key. We, as line managers, we may have it easier because when we have like 5 to 8 people to communicate something, the perception failure might be lower. Yeah, maybe it's just one person who didn't get it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I see organizations where there is just one leader above, where it's like 50 or more people.
Yeah.
And so I see that the communication of failure, like that the failure will happen is almost 100%.
Yes.
And so it's very important that when we have 50 people below us, I don't know why organizations need to have it. I know that in some gaming environments you actually have that. That you need to over communicate. And by the way, I can totally recommend play games to exercise leadership.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you know what I'm saying, because when you have 50 people in your organization and you're the only leader and you want them to do something for you, then over communication is the key. You need to repeat it many times a day, and also multiple times throughout the week. And then it still means that one person didn't get the message. And so you need to be prepared for this, that some failure will happen. And so you need to manage this, or you structure the organization a little bit.
Yeah, actually, I could provide a great example to this point. We had just department days, and we had around 20 or 25 people like together in one place, and I organized mostly everything. So, and I remember that I wrote that lunch will be in an office. I wrote it in a Slack channel. I add calendar invite and say mostly to everyone, like directly during the meeting, yes, in the office. And there were still people who decided to go outside because they were thinking that we have no lunch in the office. So it's a great example of over communication, that we really need to over communicate, because there are still will be people who will not get it.
Absolutely. And this is a great example, actually.
Yeah.
So we have more questions. How do you adapt your feedback style when working with international colleagues?
Yeah, so I think we already touched it a bit. So yeah, I observe them to realize direct, not indirect. And for direct person, it's usually instructions. It's usually like, I'm going to the point. This is what's done wrong from my perspective. I'm usually asking for a feedback from another part, even if it's direct or indirect. But with direct, I'm saying, yes, it was wrong from my perspective. I think it should be done in this way. Tell me, what do you think? And yeah, this is action items, and we are done. So it's mostly like a guidance, like strict, direct, and usually pretty short. If we agree, if we disagree, then we have this back and forth. With indirect, I usually start with question, because the biggest problem with indirect, if you are so straightforward, it could be taken as a route. And like, of course, we're all professionals, but we also all sometimes we can get some, like, negative emotion at the beginning of the conversation and we stop thinking. We're just, thinking about this emotion and like, oh, why it was happening this way, etc. That's why with indirect people, you should be really careful. So you're asking, okay, we have the situation. Tell me, why do you think it's happened and why it happened in this way? So because you were thinking to do this due to that and that and that. And then I start providing possible different solutions and like benefits and consequences. So it's like a dialogue. Okay, maybe we can do it in a different way and we will get this, and maybe not this. And again, I'm asking for feedback. So with indirect, it's mostly about coaching. When you are not saying what should be done, but you, through the questions, coach through the path and find the right path. So with direct, you just saying, do it in this way. You just provide guidance how to do it right. But with indirect, you provide coaching, like how we can find the right path. So it's a bit different. But if you know the difference of people in your team and you can use these two approaches, it will be more comfortable for them to get feedback and proceed it, because they don't need to struggle with emotions, and they just, okay, it will be like more efficient by that.
And sometimes you also have heated situations, right? In this case, what I do, as long as it's heated, I don't provide feedback because it will create more heat and explosion. A couple of years ago, I learned about mental health first aid. This is like a group of non-profit organizations. So in each country, when they have established inside a country, they have like one non-profit organization that creates this one-day workshop where you can learn about how to provide mental health first aid. So we can provide physical first aid, and so they are specializing in the mental health first aid. And you learn the so-called Roger principle. And the first thing to do in this principle is to provide the right environment, which means, for example, if someone is like really freaking out and smashing like devices around, you need to clear the room, like get out all the other people out. Because if someone is that heated, it will take approximately like not more than 10 minutes until this person is calming down. If you have someone who is not like in a dangerous mood, you can just simply like also clear the room, and also let the person calm down. And then when the person calms down, you can ask the person like about how they feel, like just do a little bit of like connection work first before providing feedback. And then the providing of the feedback here also doesn't come that direct, right? It also comes with very sensitive mood. Because if you have really moody people or people who have like mental health issues in general, you need to provide the feedback differently than with someone who like just can deal with it on a professional level. Right?
Agree. Yes, like of course, like all my tips after like we are getting to right level of emotions. Yes, if you have someone who are, because like usually we are, what I'm trying to do, I'm not providing feedback immediately, mostly never. So I'm usually asking for a space and can we talk, and even in advance and giving context what we are going to talk about. So that's why a person has time to prepare. And if I see that during feedback something going wrong and like emotions like going out, then okay, don't think about this feedback. It doesn't make sense now. Let's talk why it's so emotional for you. Because usually, if we are talking about working things, it shouldn't be taken so emotionally. It's so personal, because it's like it's just to work. It's just like business as usual. Yes, we are coming, we are doing things, but if it's taken so personally, it's better to understand the reason, because you're, I don't know, so afraid about something, because your actions, because you're struggling at home with something, and this feedback just like +1 negative stuff to you. So, and if someone's so emotional during feedback, it means that it's nothing about feedback. It's something about different situation, and we need just to realize what's going on and help this person to be in a better shape.
Exactly. I know that we're a little bit over time, but I would like touch point in one more question. Are you in?
Okay.
Wonderful. Because I think it's a wonderful question. So how can newcomers in tech make meaningful connections in a new country?
So I think I would recommend to start with joining different communities. So start with research, looking for different communities, different conferences, meetup. Actually, even have there is a meetup, I think, home website where you can go and sort it by your location, and you will see all meetups that happen, and it depends on topic in your location. So start with research, and then start collaborate, and contribute in these groups. So for example, in Poland, first of all, I was as a participant to Google developers group, and then I joined it as a member to like organizer. So I organized women tech makers and Google developers group in Lublin area, there where I lived. And it helped me a lot to build network, to get new ideas, new projects. So and not feel alone, because I know that sometimes when we are working remotely, of course, we are talking about our work, businesses, etc. during our working day, but we don't have someone who we can go and complain on the same stuff. We are not going to complain about that during the work, because you should be efficient and proficient. But when you go to the network, you can discuss some issues that happen at your work and ask for advice, ask for an opinion, just to listen to you. So start your research. You will definitely find something in your area. Or you can join remotely. After COVID, there are so many platforms that are organizing a lot of like workshops, a lot of meetups remotely. So in this case, if you are, for example, in a small village or in a small town and you need to travel somewhere, start with remotely. But you definitely need to travel to a big city at least once per half a year, because it's great experience when you meet people offline, when you can talk, spend time. But meetups, some remote activities, and your local chapters of different groups.
Absolutely. I also know 2 remote meetups that are happening every Friday evening. And I know that many listeners of Tech Talent Talk are actually coming from Berlin. Berlin is very known for expats being alone for years. So try out these meetups. If you want to know about these 2 meetups, please message me. I am happy to invite you to the Slack channels where this is happening. And go for Alisa's advice. Also in Berlin, there are lots of meetups where you can go for like any interest that you have. It doesn't need to be development. It can be knitting. It can be painting. Can be sports. And this is the advice that I, as a manager, I give to expats that I have hired from abroad to go for whatever interest that they have and like meet new people. It's very important. This is also an advice that I intentionally give to people who just joined from abroad, to also make friends with people also outside of the company, but also making friends inside of the company. Because what I've noticed is that people who join a certain company only make friends inside the company. But what happens if it doesn't happen? Then you have an unfortunate event, right?
Exactly.
So which means like new joiners need to make the work and make connections and make connections and make connections. Yeah, it doesn't mean that the best friends will occur in the first meetup that you will meet. Yeah, maybe it's like the second, maybe the fourth, maybe the 10th. But building a network, as Alisa said, is very important. And then out of those people, you will probably find a new best friend. That's very important. Cool, Lisa. I have a last question. Yeah. This is our signature question, and this it is about what was your most positive interview experience?
So I think actually it was during interview into IO. As I previously worked for 10 years to different companies, so I haven't had a lot of interviews, to be honest. But yeah, so when I interviewed to IO, it was like pretty usual setup. So like screening call, technical call, hiring manager call, and behavior interview. And I really liked behavior interview because, to be honest, when they contact me, I didn't know a lot about IO. I knew AdBlock Plus, but not IO as a company. So, and during this behavior interview, of course, company learned a lot of myself, how about my leadership approach, about my vision, how to manage team, coordinate strategies, etc. But also they gave me a chance to learn about themselves. So, and I was so curious to know how IO look like, what is there inside? Because, you know, when you join a company, it's not only about your salary and projects, it's also about people who will be inside, how you're going to deal with them. So I asked two really, I think, direct questions. So first one was, why do you think I need to join your company? And second one, actually, what do you like most in this company? You know, like that, I don't know, force you to go to work every day. And I interviewed with two women. Yeah, actually, one was started being my colleague afterwards, and another she was agile coach, so just for interview process. And they said what has inspired them to be in IO, it's actually that they have female CTO who is caring, like, yeah, this is a diverse company and there are a lot of women managers in the top positions, and they have female CTO who cares about engineering department and growing it and looking for different opportunities. And it was the first chance when actually I had a chance to work in a company where there is female CTO. So I decided, okay, just because of that, I need to join. So yeah, I think this is the most exciting.
Just a short question after that. How did you feel? Like, what was your experience working for female CTO?
Really great. I really like it. So yeah, now actually we have another CTO, so it's changed. Mm-hmm. But I like it so much. And actually I had experience to providing feedback to CTO. So I remember I found that the company changed a lot of different aspects when I joined. So it was a strategy, mission changes, department changes, etc. And to be honest, when we are going through the change, it's not really easy, and there is so low morale of a team at that time. So I came to CTO and said, like, could I provide you feedback? I have a feedback. And we had so great talk, and she was so open and cared about what I was talking. And the most important thing that afterward, it was like we had summer week, maybe in 3 or 4 months after that. And she came and said, you see, I'm doing changes. And it was so positive to me that, like, it's not like I provided feedback and she forgot, but she actually took it and started doing changes. So yeah, it was a great experience. I liked it.
It's so valuable for managers to get feedback, because then they know, hey, this is going on. Okay, I need to adapt and adjust something. And yeah, that's super cool. We're at the end of the session. And at the end of the session, I'd like to put your attention on Alisa's LinkedIn, where she is writing about those topics. And I know that Alisa will start a article newsletter thingy on LinkedIn as well. So please go to her profile and subscribe the button. Thank you, Alisa, for being our guest.
Thank you for having me. It was really great.
Thank you. And thank you, dear audience, for listening. And please tune in for the next session of